What it is, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ness, and today we are going to discuss how you can maximize your collection with the Neo Geo CD and the Neo Geo MVS. Now, we are going to review a couple of things from our friends at Project Retro Games. They sent me a consoleized MVS, still a prototype, so there will be more to come soon. But if you're interested, head over to projectretrogames.com and inquire about getting on a pre-order list for a consoleized MVS. All right, so the package from Project Retro, don't mind the additional packaging and all that. I kind of started already on this, so I have been waiting for this for a while, and this is pretty dope. Okay, so they got this bubble wrapped here. That presentation is fire. Look at that. Look at that box. Look at that. The future is back. Okay. So I like the presentation. It's got kind of like this little locking mechanism here. So let's open that up. Okay, I like that. Oh, wow. Okay, so, all right, we've got composite cables in the inside of this. Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got a, looks like we had a sticker that came off. I think it's probably, is that right? Probably needs to go here. Sticker there. So we've got the two contact points here, and on and off switch looks like here. That's pretty cool. On the back, traditional ports here. On the side here. So this is looks like a standard SNK MVS 1C. 1C meaning one cartridge. Board, from what I can tell on the inside, looks really clean. And then the bottom of this, oh, that's cool. That's dope. That's super dope. So they've actually numbered it, kind of like they do the AES consoles. That's pretty cool. I wonder if all of these will be numbered, etc. Kind of that console look. I like this color, and this is going to come in different colors too. So that looks really nice. And then inside the box, so inside here, and it's got the styrofoam in there, so you can keep it housed in here if you want to keep it protected and you don't want it out in the elements. So they've left it with, okay, that's cool. So you got the matching sticker there. So they've got the composite cable right here to connect here. That's pretty cool how they did that. And then you've got your 5-volt 5A standard power supply. And then you've got your connector there and here. We have a matching arcade controller or joystick. And it's still got the plastic on it. And of course it's got the connection point on the back to connect into the console. Buttons. Kind of feel like hat buttons, I'm not quite sure. I don't hear any clicking in here, so I don't know what kind of stick is in here. Maybe I'll open it up one day to find out, but we'll test that out here. But overall, the quality of this, it is light. It's very light, but it, man, next to this, the console itself, look at that. So many of you have been asking, like, Ness, how do you play your MVS games? Where do you go? I'm looking for a consoleized MVS to play. Where should I pick one up? Well, we now have the answer. Project Retro is doing consoleized MVSs, and the quality of this thing is pretty dang good. I'm pretty pleased with it. Now this is like their prototypes, right? So they'll be coming to market with different colors with this. So I opted for the red, you know, traditional MVS colors. I think they'll have blue and black. If you're looking for a particular theme for your game room, you'll have that. So you'll have that available. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you, Project Retro Games. Look at this. Prekinger. Okay, so that's the dramatic shooter. And quality here looks pretty good on this. This is sealed. We'll definitely crack this open and play this on the Neo Geo CD-Z. Ooh, we've got a Japanese Cross Swords 2. Ooh, so that looks good. Cross Swords is such a good game. Such a good game. So for those of you that don't know, Cross Swords was actually a Neo Geo CD only game, right? So when this game came out, it only came out on Neo Geo CD. Didn't get an AES release, although there was one done a little bit over a decade ago for, you know, more of a homebrew style, and I've got a copy of that. You've probably seen in previous videos, but that is really clean. Looks really good. And then finally, the new 8-man. I have been super happy and super excited to see this one. 8-man on Neo Geo CD. For those of you that don't know, 8-man didn't get a Neo Geo CD release. So Project Retro, they decided, hey, we're gonna go ahead and do a Neo Geo CD version of this game. So for those of you that are huge 8-man fans, definitely go over to the site. This is a definite have, or definite, you want this in your collection for sure. 8-man is such a good game. I haven't done a review on the channel of this particular game yet, but I do have this on AES, and it is super nice to have a version of this on Neo Geo CD. So shout out to Project Retro for bundling those up. That's awesome. Looks like they threw in a bonus game. So we have Ghost Chaser Densei. I've never heard of this game. Looks like it was a Japanese only release, and looks like a side-scrolling beat 'em up for the Super Nintendo. So we'll crack that open and take a look at the inside of that. But that is really nice. Thank you so much. Copy of Xenocrisis. Let's crack this open right now. Quick unboxing of this. Okay, the boxes. No way. Xenocrisis. What is this? Is this a manual? Yeah. We've got a manual that goes inside. So this changes the game, man. That's pretty cool. It's the textured manuals, not like the gloss or anything like that. And then it's got a little card here also. That's pretty cool. Inside the box, that is good quality. That is a good quality box. It's pretty sturdy, not flimsy cardboard or anything like that, but it's got the, there we go, the gloss texture. So if we're looking in it, I mean, that's so cool. We got baggies, man. You gotta have the baggies. You always have to have the baggies. You've got a baggie here for this. So let's say you're wanting to drop in and play a little Xenocrisis. Look at that. And that presents right there on your shelf. Look at that. Look at the size difference here between this shock box here and this very compact, right? So this fits on your shelf, doesn't take up a lot of real estate, and it's compact. You don't, I mean, don't get me wrong, the shock boxes are great. You can fit your MVS, you know, you can fit your MVS card in here. You've got the little plastic to protect all that, and you've got your insert cover and all that jazz, which are cool, but that is a lot of real estate that takes up your shelf. So that's just an extra shock box that I had for Neo Turf Masters. I had like 2 of these. But I love this design. So Project Retro, if you guys are doing this right here, you're putting a bunch of these and you're making custom boxes for a lot of the other games, I am going to be ordering manuals and boxes for a lot of my MVS carts, and I'm going to start converting them to these because this is really good quality, very compact, very cool. Resolution's good for the for these boxes. They're sturdy, they sit up tight. That's awesome. That looks good, more compact, and then you can start allocating more space to your shelves, and you don't have stuff like this or your MVS kit boxes that are taking up a bunch of space. There's only a few subtle differences in between what the MVS 1C can do from just inside of my Nova Blast and what the consoleized version of this is going to look like from Project Retro Games. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can plug this into your TV, and this is for my newer collectors. I know my veterans out there have seen or heard tons of different ways that you can collect for, consoleized MVSs. We've seen them on Alibaba, we've seen them on various sites. You can pick some up on eBay, your super guns, all that stuff. But here's a nice compact way that's still utilizing original hardware, and it's built in a consoleized compact way. I mean, look at it. In terms of compatibility with controllers, remotes, all that stuff, you can utilize all of your official Neo Geo controllers. I did test the 8-bit Duo controller. The CD controller that was wireless worked flawlessly. No hiccups there in terms of input commands, etc. And the plus side to having this consoleized MVS is if you just so happen to be collecting MVS carts and you come across a couple of Japanese carts, etc., this does have a built-in UniBIOS chip. All right, so this does have a UniBIOS installed inside, which is amazing. Those are really good. So you can actually go in here and change your settings. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to do, right, because it's an MVS setup, right? So it's automatically set to arcade. So let's say you want to change your region to, let's say, USA, and you wanted consoleized AES, you're all set. So the way to do that is when the Neo Geo pops up, so these three buttons here, your red, your yellow, and your green. Press all three of those at the same time, all three of them at the same time, and it's going to bring you to the UniBIOS menu. So in here, you can change all your settings. Region setup is generally what I like to do. So if I'm wanting to play it consoleized style, if I want to play it on a console style, I generally do that when I want to pause. So if someone's ringing the doorbell, or if I'm playing, or I got to stop real quick, I put it on a console so I can use a pause button to play the game. That way, if I'm in MVS mode, you don't get a pause, you just keep playing. So some people like it in MVS mode. I prefer it in console mode, but we put it in the US version, and then we're back up. To mind, there's one thing to note. There are subtle differences between regions. Some things get edited out, some things get censored, things of that nature. So depending on the game that you select and that you're playing, you may want to play a particular game that has blood versus a game that, comes over to the US region or Euro region, and you might be seeing sweat instead of that. So take that to note if you're utilizing the UniBIOS. Now, in terms of other controllers, I've tested the arcade joystick that came from Project Retro Games, and it turned out to be pretty good. Very light, compact, very solid design. I don't know exactly what kind of joystick and buttons were used. They weren't Sanwa, they weren't Hayabusa, but I'm not quite sure if this is something that can be modified later on down the road for my purists out there that want specific types of buttons and specific types of switches, micro switches, etc. But perhaps with the finalized version of this console, there may be some upgrades in terms of the buttons and switches, etc. I don't know. Now, in terms of the packaging here, it came in a really awesome custom Neo Geo case that says, "The future is back." I thought that was a pretty nice way how it was bundled in there. The console was in there nice and neat, and under it was sitting all the hardware in terms of power supplies, etc. Now, with this console, it does come with the option to utilize composite cables. So your RGB composites, you'll be able to use that. Now, for my folks out there that are the extreme purists and that would like to play these consoleized MVSs on, you know, your CRTs and etc., make sure that you have those composite components there, and you'll be right as rain to be able to do that. Now, for my folks out there that want to play on HD TVs and want to go a little bit modern, now you're going to need some kind of receiver, etc., that's going to be able to do that. In my particular case, I was using the RetroTink 5X. I've been using mine for many years now, so in terms of this, I didn't connect it to a SCART cable or anything like that. I just used the hardware that came from Project Retro Games, and it worked flawlessly. So I didn't have any issues there. All the components that were there, audio, all those things worked great. It's about partially in, so that's all it needs, and it's very responsive for that. Again, if you have the arrow needs to be facing down, and your cart sticker should be looking like it's not upside down, should be, you know, straight up like Xenocrisis here. So we're gonna pop in Samurai Showdown real quick. Just slide it out like so. Comes out, and there's your arrow face down, slide in. Samurai Showdown, slide in there like so. And then we'll turn it on here, just like so, and it just switches on. And that blue light indication comes on. And my TV just went off on its own, so if you're putting it upside down, you'll know, because you can't slot that in, you can't force it in. That was a little thing that I noticed myself, but once you put it in, it slides right in, and you pull it out when you're ready to go. So it turns out to be a very good, compact, consoleized MVS that you can have in your collection. Now, in terms of the games that I received, gave me tons of cool little games to play. Project Retro Games did provide one MVS game, and it was Xenocrisis. So Xenocrisis came in a custom box, artwork very compact, very sleek, and it also had a manual. So it's giving you kind of that AES vibe. Now, in terms of this box compared to shock boxes, etc., I actually like this. It's compact, it doesn't take a lot of real estate on your shelf, which is extremely awesome to have. This is a super game changer. Now, in terms of when those artworks and those different frames and all that stuff will be available, that will soon be to come on the website. So folks, if you are interested in the consoleized MVS, if you're interested in perhaps getting a couple of boxes, maybe manuals, etc., to go with your loose MVS carts, stay tuned and be on the lookout on projectretrogames.com and inquire about those things. This is still a prototype, so these aren't ready to go yet, but they are taking pre-orders on these, and you know, they're only going to do so many. So for those that are interested in adding these into the collection, do so. Now, in terms of pricing, I know many of you are going to ask in the comments, Ness, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? These things, I don't have the price, the retail price on this. I did pay for the console itself. So I want to be completely transparent with you. I did pay for the console. It was a prototype, so it wasn't the finished product. There's going to be a more polished version of this console, but for the most part, it's going to look virtually the same. Nothing too crazy. It's probably going to be a little bit more polished and more, you know, glamorous looking on the outside in terms of stickers and decals, etc. But other than that, it's going to be the same console. So there will be different colors that this does come in though. So in terms of what I got, I did get the prototype, which was in red, but I am hearing that they will be offering this in blue. They will be offering this in a black shell as well. That's wrapping the MVS 1C for this consoleized MVS. So that's pretty cool. You'll have a variety. And if you have a particular color scheme in your game room that you're trying to accomplish, you'll be able to do it with that. So Xenocrisis played awesome, no problems there. Didn't have any hiccups in terms of gameplay or anything like that. It's an MVS 1C, so as long as they've recapped and make sure all the, the components on that board are good, right as rain. Okay, so we have the Neo Geo CDZ. We talked about the 8-man that came in from Project Retro, which is, oh my goodness. Look at that spine. That spine on there. Really well done. Yeah, it looks, I mean, it looks so authentic. And for those of you that don't know, I mean, look at that. Look at the quality of the disc here. Oop. That is solid quality on the disc. And oh my gosh, hold on. Mind you, this game never came out on Neo Geo CD. I don't know if you can see that. But you see right there, 8-man Neo Geo CD. Look, you have that ingrained in code. How many times do you see that on high production stuff? You really, not on disc stuff, you really don't. You just see blank. You don't see like the actual name of the game in there. That's attention to detail. All right, he's a goner. Gameplay wise, this is pretty solid. It's pretty solid, y'all. I mean, plays how it would on CD. Well, I mean, how it would on AES. I should pretty much say, because this game was not released for the CD back in the day. So this is, if you're a big Neo Geo CD fan and you prefer playing on the Neo Geo CD, maybe perhaps you want to keep the maybe have a bunch of sealed CDZ games or CD games, or you have open ones but you want to keep those more preserved and less scratches, all that. Going over to Project Retro Games and grabbing a copy of one of these games. And this is really cool tool. You're getting games that weren't released on the Neo Geo CD. So that's really cool that they're doing that and providing just a little bit more of an option in terms of like, hey, maybe you like the full library of the Neo Geo AES. You don't want to spend the money for certain games on AES. Maybe you like MVS, but you don't like the lack of, you know, artwork, manuals, etc. And having a version on CD helps. All right, we've tested the consoleized MVS from Project Retro Games today. We've also gotten to take a look at some of the Neo Geo CD games that Project Retro Games is releasing, so stay tuned for those. You'll start seeing some of those games pop up on the site. Now I do, and let me go back to my notes here because I want to make sure that you all have that information. So 8-man, for instance, for those of you that are interested in 8-man, be on the lookout for those. Project Retro Games is going to do a small release of those games looking around 30. So if you're a big Neo Geo CD fan and this is your first time seeing 8-man on Neo Geo CD, there's a reason behind that. It didn't come out on Neo Geo CD. So the manual's custom and it's mirrored after an AES manual, which is in really good quality shape. The disc is awesome. The spine work and the spine card on the disc looks amazing. So I can't stress enough the good quality. In terms of gameplay, you got to see that on the Neo Geo CD. And in terms of the other games, Cross Swords 2, some of the other games that I played, you are able to see the quality of these games. They turned out really good. So if you want to preserve your actual real versions of these games and you don't want to play them too much, causing scratches or errors or anything like that, this is a great way. Or if you don't want to spend $200+ on Neo Geo CD games, this is a great way to budget and save you and build a small Neo Geo CD collection for you. Follow on the projectretrogames.com site, reach out to them, ask them if you're inquiring about the console, inquiring about some of the artwork for MVS. They'll be releasing a lot of those here pretty soon, and I plan on buying a bunch of them when they come out as well. There's going to be some more Neo Geo CD games that are going to be coming out too. They are working on some additional games in small quantities. So for my Neo Geo CD folks out there that are looking for those types of games, be on the lookout and check Project Retro Games. They've got a really good quality. Other than that, if you have any questions, drop comments down below. Are you excited? Do you need a consoleized MVS, or do you need just a couple of new Neo Geo CD games for your collection in the near future? Make sure you check out Project Retro Games. Many thanks to them for sending out a couple of the goodies and the games and allowing me to test out that consoleized MVS. More to come. Collect and play the way you want to collect and play your games, and I will check you next time. Peace.